Hello game devs. In the previous video that I've created about input system, I've talked about some simple stuffs in the input system, and we saw this player input to interact with our input system. And now in this tutorial we are going to see some more advanced stuffs in the input system, and after that we can do a lot of more stuffs with our input system. So before starting the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, it will help me a lot, and let's go. In the last video that I created about the input system in the Unity, I talked about this component called player input, and with this player input we implemented our character controller. But in this video, as I said, we are going deeper and see some more advanced stuffs in the input system. Here we have our input system. We have this move, look, attack, and some other stuffs. We can create some more actions if we want. Here we can click on this plus button, and after that we have to choose one of these options that we have here. I explained that in the previous video, so now we don't need to talk about it anymore. If you don't know about them, at first you should watch that video, and after that you can come here and we can continue together. We have these actions here and we can use them in the way that I showed you, but here we have this amazing option. We can create a C# class. Let's see what we have in this C# class, and check this box and then apply. And after that we will have this input system. Let's open it up. Here you can see every buttons or every input that we can have from our keyboard or our mouse or our gamepad, and anything that can provide an input for us. Here, for example, we have this move action. It is a type of value. With this ID, we will provide us a vector 2, and we don't have any processors. And after that, we have this look, attack, interact, jump, and other actions that you can see here. After that, we have this binding. What is binding? Binding help us to bind a specific button or a specific input in our gamepad, our keyboard, and other inputs to an action. Here we have this move action, and this move action have to use our left stick of our gamepad. Or here our action move can also use D-pad or WASD buttons in our keyboard to provide us a vector 2 of move. Why vector 2? Because we had it here in this move we have a vector 2. And after this binding and this action and all of this boring stuffs, we have our code here. Here we have a code, and this class is what we are going to use. But what is this player action? Let's look at our input system again. Here we have this player and UI. Okay, so we have a player action to provide us this action in this action map. Here we have an action map called player, so we have a player action here. So we have to have a UI action too, right? And here we have this UI action, because here we have a UI action map. Here we have this UI with these actions, and here we have this UI action. And so now let's take a look at this player action. Here we have some actions. Here we have we have this input action move, because here we have this move, look, attack, interact, and some others, and we can use them in our script to create what we want. It's enough for this generated C# file. Let's jump into our own script. I want to create a controller for this sprite here. For example, move. At first we have to access to generated class. Here we have this input system. We have to create a variable of this class, for example, private input system actions, and I want to call it input like this. And after that, in the awake function or maybe a start function, it's okay in both of them. In this specific situation, I think awake is better. So let's create our instance of our input system actions. So our input is equal to new input system actions, and now we have our input. Now let's just log some values and see what we are doing now. We have console dot log, we have debug dot log, and after that input the name of our action. Here is player action, so player dot, and now we have our actions. Player is our action map, and after that we have some actions. Let's test move input action. Then we have this read value method. Here we have this read value method. We will see it later, and some other attributes and methods. Feel free to explore in them and test them. But now I just want to use this read value, and as we see before, our move action have a value of type vector2. So we need to pass vector2 here. So now we are done with our read value method, but at first we need to do something to enable our it input, and it's really easy. We can just use this enable method, and in this method, this on enable method, you can enable your inputs dot enable, really easy. And in the on disable method, you have to disable your so like this. Now everything is okay, and we will have this value in our console. So let's see here. If I press the W button, we will have 1 in the Y axis, and if I press A, we have -1 in the X axis. And if I don't press any button, here we have this 0 0 in the Y and X axis. So now we have what we need to create our player controller. But in this tutorial, as I said, I want to show you some advanced stuffs in the input system. So let's jump to other things that I wanted to show you. Now we've seen how to use the actions of type value that provide value for us, provide value of any types that we want, vector2, double, integer, and anything. Now we know how to use them. We just need to use this read value, and with this read value we can use the value of our action, and with that value we will do what we want. But we have another type of actions. They are type of buttons. How to use them? It is the same as our move, and we are going to use our input system action class that we created. Before I show you how to use the button types actions, I want to show you something in our move action. So let's see inputs dot player dot move and dots. Here we have a started action, and this cancelled action, and this performed action. Let's see one of them. For example, this start action. We can add a function to it, for example plus equal, and after that something like this. We have this context object here. Let's see what we have in this object, context dots. We have this read value here, okay, and we can just use this read value just when we press one of the binding keys that we bind to our move action, and it will provide a context object for us that have this read value and some other methods and attributes that will help us to do what we want. But this started function, it will call our function only once. Why? Because when we press down our W button, we do it once. Now let's comment this here. I want to I want to show you how it will going to work. Debug.log context and then dot read value and vector2. So here we add a function to our started action. Now we don't have anything because we will call this function just when we press down our key. So if I press W button, we will have this log, and every time that I press the W button or A or S or D and every button that binds to our move action, we will have a log. For example, when I press on A button, and as you see, every time that I press on A button, we have a new log. See? One press, two press, three press, one press and hold, and as you see, we don't have any log. And when we release it and press it again, we have another log. I think you get the point, and now you know what it is going to do. Instead of this started action, we can use cancelled action. It will call our function when we release our button. We have this performed action. It's like the start action. It will call our function just once we press our button. Let's delete this line of code. Now we know these actions, so now we can talk about the button type actions. We need a function to set our actions. I think start method is a good place to set our actions because it is after a wake action, and after a wake action we have this input, and our input isn't null here anymore, so we can use our input dot player dot attack dot started, and then I want to add a function to it, context, and you can call it everything you want. It's not important at all. And after that, debug.log something like attack. So let's see what we have in our input system. Our attack action will work with our left button or our enter button in the keyboard. We bind these buttons to our action. So when I press on the left button of my mouse, we will have this log. We have attack. Am I right? Attack. Wrong. Attack. Now it's correct. So let's reset our game.
2,000 years later.
And now everything is okay. We have this attack. And let's see the cancel action. As I said before, when I release our button, it will call our function. I suggest you do all of these stuffs with your own, and it will really help you to learn these stuffs. So now we know how to use our button type actions and value type actions. And now let's create a simple move component together, and this will help you to understand better this concept. So instead of logging the value, I want to move my game object. For example, transform.translate with this value, and when we call the attack action, I want my game object to be, for example, red. So we can delete this. I want to show you another way to attach a function to your action. For example, I want to create a function here, void attack private or public, anything you need in your game. And after that, and we don't need our context anymore, so we just set a underline, and after that, like this, here we have a lambda expression. What we did here, this lambda expression help us to add some function to our actions. It's really easy, and as you see here is all we need to do it. Just what your action will provide for us. We don't need it, so just the underline and the function that you want to call. If your attack function need this context, you have to provide it in your parameters part of your function. So callback context here, input action dot callback context, and as you see here, we have this callback context. I want to call it context, and also this one context. You can name it what you want. For example, C. It's not important at all, and C. And now we provide our callback context to my attack function here. And in the attack function, I want to get components, a sprite renderer, and then I want to get the material, then the color, and I want to set it to red. And when we release our button here, it isn't cancel, it's a start. And when we release our button in the cancelled, I want to make my object to white again. And here I want to do it in the other way, in this way. You can copy this and paste it here, and instead of red, I want it to be white. Now we have our game controller. It is a really simple game controller because this video is not about character controller, and this tutorial was just about the input system and some advanced stuffs that we have in this input system. So now we have my object. When I click on my left button, it will be red. When I release the button, it will be white again. When I press A, it will move. It's really fast because we don't have any time.delta time here. I want to add it, delta time. And also we can provide a public float speed here, then multiply it to our speed, and here we are. Now we have our game. This is our square. Let's change the speed, for example, to 100. Then when I move it, it will move. Really nice. Make it a little slower. Now when I click on the button, it will be red. When I release that, it's white again, and is moving. Now we are done with our input action. Now you know a lot about the input action, and you can do lots of stuffs with your input action. You can create some amazing character controller that can work in the PC, in the mobile, in the consoles, and everywhere, because now you have input system. It's enough for this tutorial. If you have any comments about this video, about my channel, about the way that I'm learning stuffs in my channel, I would be happy if you tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It will help me a lot, and I hope you see you again, and goodbye.